Good evening and welcome to Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain, episode 27. We've been building up to this one for a few weeks now, mate. There's been a couple of teasers along the way. We've got to let the cat out of the bag last week. And of course, we've got the only number 27 himself, Jereme Tendler, joining us this week. How are you, Jereme?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, this is, as you're nodding away there, Matty, we've known since sort of day one of this podcast. We had the ideas, obviously, speak to the new guys, the new signings, Brock and Bobby. Let's bring them in from Canada. But one of the very first things we said we were going to do when we started this pod, we were going to bring the guys back. We were going to sort of reminisce those old days. And this is exactly what you wanted to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've got to get the lads on, haven't we? Get the dusters in there as well. Looking fresh.
Couple of nice.
I feel like a baby-faced little boy here now.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Take about 4 years to grow one of those.
Me and Tens used to talk about growing beards back in the day, and that's all we wanted to do.
You know what? I still have a huge beard, and I can't. I can grow the goat, but
yeah,
this upper lip looks unbelievable.
Yeah, it does.
I don't think we need our faces in the picture for the pod. I think it should just be that handlebar.
Yeah, that's that idea.
There's
other than like the looks, like I don't have to pick the kids up from school. My wife thinks it looks like a pedophile, so I get the month off for picking them up from school. Hey, that's a bonus.
There you go. Yeah, you got to stay away from school, so that's important. But other than that, it's a winner, really.
Well, let's get stuck in. I think we will say we've had a couple of the old favourites back on, shall we say? We've reminisced on those wonderful times from a decade ago. With Sylvain Cloutier, with Dominic Osmond, and now we've got the main man himself, Jereme Tendler. Let's kick it off where it all began. Of course, when we talk about Canadian hockey and junior hockey, we always hear about the Ontario Hockey League, Alberta, Quebec. We don't often hear about Saskatchewan. Of course, that's where you grew up. It's where you're from, and it's obviously how you grew as a player and developed in their hockey leagues. How was it growing for you? How did he get into the game? I believe your father played as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I can't believe you haven't heard any South stories. There's a ton of hockey guys from Saskatchewan. What are you talking about? You guys got to talk to some better players.
Yeah, we're scraping the barrel over here, mate. Come on.
So here's well, you're gonna make me think here. I haven't thought back that far in a long time. So here's I guess my dad used to play. Basically, like if you're from Canada and you don't play hockey, then like what do you do, right? So everyone that you go to school with is on the ice. So if you want some friends, you might as well play hockey. And there's no shortage of ice in Saskatchewan. Cold winters up there, so plenty of things freeze over. If there's not a rink, there's always somewhere to skate. But my dad played hockey. He was a good player. Played juniors in Saskatoon for the Blades. And then he tried out for the Washington Capitals, played 2 exhibition games, scored a goal against the Flyers. And then they sent him down. He was 21 years old at this time. And then what did he do? He went to Salt Lake City, took a slap shot, lost all his teeth, and said, I'm going to go home and farm. So that was the end of the career. And went home and farmed with his brother and his dad. So then fast forward, I guess, 5-6 years, or I don't know how long, but I came along, and obviously he'd have been the one to put the skates on me and teach me from the very beginning. So I don't know if you guys know, but I grew up like in the middle of nowhere. It's not a surprise in Saskatchewan. There's a lot of middle of nowhere there. You can watch your dog run away for 2 days. It's just flat. There's no trees, no hills. Just to give you a little perspective on it, I went to school. I lived on a farm, and the town that I was closest to is called Viceroy. It has, I think, a population of like 23 people. But my one buddy had 4 kids, so like I think he's up the population quite a bit, and he still lives there. So we used to have to bring multiple towns in together to make a team. But I'm going to tell you about first school. So I would go to school. I had one girl in my grade, and then the kid above me, he was the only kid in his grade, and it was just one room. And you sat in the row of whatever grade you were in. So kindergarten was in this first row, and then once you graduated from kindergarten, you went to the second row, which is grade 1, then grade 2, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, and then you're out the door. And then it was the same teacher that taught everybody. So like she would focus on the grade 1s for a while and give you something to do, and then she'd focus on the grade 2s, and the bell would ring and you'd all play together. And like it was wild. I didn't even know it was wild until I left, and I was like, that's not normal. So anyways, yeah, bring a bunch of towns in together to make a team. I played in a town. I eventually went to school there for 3 years. So I went up to the big leagues. There were 17 kids in my class. So it was overwhelming. But that was where I played a lot of my hockey when I was from 5 to probably 10 years old. And then it was just like people were drifting away, moving away, or quitting, or whatever was happening. But I went and played in a town called Willabunch. Same thing. They bring a bunch of guys from different towns in to put a team together and then travel around and play at other towns. I played 1 year in Avonlea, which is quite far from our farm, but it had to be done that season. Anyways, my dad was the head coach of every team that I played on, no matter where I was, because I played in Ogama 1 year too. So yeah, things are going to come back to me here because I haven't told the stories or thought back that long ago. I'm getting up there. So fast forward a bit to high school. I was playing midget. I don't know if you can say that anymore, but I was playing 17 and under. And
I think in the context, we know what it means in hockey terms. So
I was in grade 12, and they wanted me to play up in the junior B league there. So I played up. I just remember I was the only one wearing a cage on our team. There was other kids on other teams that had cages on, but I was a young guy. They had a solid squad. I was lucky to play on it, and we ended up winning like our league, and then we won provincials, and then we went out to Western Canada's out in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, and we won out there too. And I remember scored the winning goal. It was a backhand bar down in the finals, so that was something special. And yeah, so that was the beginning of some championships that were pretty memorable. Played another year there. It was the same thing. We had a lot of returnees, and we won the league again, and we won provincials again, and then we went to Westerns, and man, we tied British Columbia, and that didn't allow us to make the finals. So we ended up being in the bronze medal game, and we spanked some team like 9-2. So pretty good record in junior B. But then the following year, I went and tried out in junior A in Weyburn, and made the team. And yeah, I scored 25 goals that year. I remember it was a pretty good achievement for a rookie from past history in that league. I won Rookie of the Year, and we didn't win a championship. We made playoffs. We lost out. And then my final year when I was 20, same thing. We like made the All-Star game. We went all the way to the finals. Actually, this guy slashed me my wrist. I used to play center, by the way. My whole life I played center. And this guy slashed me off a face-off and it broke my wrist. And then I had a cast on, but I played in playoffs. And I remember reading in the paper one time that the coach said I had a harder shot with a cast on my wrist. It was kind of funny. But I scored a lot of backhand goals when I had a cast. That could be a little trick for somebody if they want a little strong backhand. They can just cast up their arm. Anyways, we made it in the finals, and we lost 3-2 in Game 6, and the team that beat us went on to win the Royal Bank Cup in Ontario, I think it was. So it was good memories. It was good. I wanted to follow my dad's footsteps in major junior, like playing WHL, and I had some offers to go try out. But my mom was really set on education and going to school. I was not the best. But I was like, okay, listen to your mother. Dad wasn't going to battle her, so listen to your mother. So didn't go try out for major juniors. Ended up trying to get the scholarship thing. Had some D3 schools approach me, but I was kind of like, I'm not going to go play D3. Like it's either D1 or I'll just go farm. So I had some offers, but they weren't full rides, and like we didn't have a ton of money to just go and pay for how ridiculous these schools cost. So I went out and started working in the oil field. And I got an email, which is so weird because I'm like, what computer was that on? Like, how did I have an email address back then? But I did. So anyways, I checked this email out, and it was like, hey, do you want to come down and check our school out at the AIC? And I'm like, AIC? Like, what is that? I'm like, are you D1? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. If you guys fly me down there, I'll come check it out. So I don't know where you guys draw the lines on these stories, but I'm going to tell this one. So I get picked up by this guy, Andrew Walbert. He's a player on the college team, and he was driving another player's vehicle. So he picks me up and he basically says, "Do you like to drink? Because we're gonna get bombed tonight." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, man. I'm just here for the ride." He has like 200 beers in the back seat, and we go for chugging beers, and I'm meeting some of his people, and we go to the bars and go to a house party after, and it's late. We're crushed, 10 out of 10, and he's like, "Okay, I got to get you back to the dorms. I got to drop you off at the coach's office 8 in the morning." So I'm like, "Yeah, man, okay, let's do it." So we get in the vehicle and he's driving, and obviously I don't know where I'm going or anything. And suddenly we're going down this road and there's no signs, and we come across this intersection. Boom, we get T-boned by this car because we were going down a one-way the wrong way. So
Boom.
we had no idea. And so this guy just smashes this man. His car's on fire. He hit behind me, like in the back passenger door, windows shatter, beer everywhere. And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm in so much trouble. I'm in the wrong country. Like, I don't know, like this is bad, this is bad, this is bad." And like the cops showed up, and it was, I was just, I don't know, we were in one. And we give our statements. It was crazy, man. They didn't breathalyze them, and I'm like, maybe that's like just an American thing. Maybe Walby knows them. Like, I didn't know. I was just like, I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this situation somehow. And Walby goes, "Hey, pick up any cases of beer that didn't smash," because the cops are like, get out of here. We're towing your vehicle." And he's like, "Don't tow it. It's not my vehicle." And he's like, "Your axle's broke. If you can move it out of the middle of the road, we won't tow it." And Walby's like, "Help me push this thing." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So we like get up there and like give it a little nudge, and it doesn't even budge. And he's like, "Okay, just grab some cases of beer that aren't smashed." So I grab 2 big cases of beer. He grabs 2, throw my overnight bag on it, and we start walking, trying to get to the dorms. After a little while, he goes, "Man, I'm so sorry." He's like, "I don't know where we are." And I'm like, "Oh, I have no idea where I am." And he's like, "Do you care if we just lay down on the sidewalk for a bit? Like, I'm exhausted." And I'm like, "Man, I'm in. Like, I'm so gassed." So we lay down, use like a case of beer for a pillow. Couple hours go by, and he's like, "All right, I got to get you to school. I don't want to get in trouble from coach." I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, I'm in the same clothes. I just slept on the sidewalk. That car, some guy's car is just totaled off. Like, it was just a wild situation. So he takes me to the coach. I meet him. I had a ping pong ball in my pocket from playing beer pong, and I remember the coach was like, "Oh, do you always carry a ping pong ball around? Is it like an eye-hand coordination thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what that is." And shows me the rink and couple places in the facility, meet some professors, and then I flew home. I told my parents the story, and they were just baffled, and they were like, "What are you gonna do?" Well, I waited for the offer, and it was a 4-year full ride, and I was like, "Yeah, of course I'm gonna go. It's 4 years figured out. This will be great." So then I played college hockey, and I didn't,
Ah.
I didn't really know if I was gonna be good, or I never paid attention. I didn't even know the teams in college hockey or anything. It was just, I was lucky, I guess, that I got that opportunity. Very fortunate. So I was really good in junior B with the All Stars games and like that, and like championships. And then junior A was kind of the same route minus the championships. And then I was like, I'll see what happens in college. And I can remember they're like, "All right, you have to run a mile under 6 minutes before you'll even get on the ice. And if you don't run that mile under 6 minutes, you're in the fat club. You'll be getting up every morning, and Coach Bobby's going to take you out, and you'll be running that mile under 6 minutes before you know it." Well, I ran that mile in 5:25 and never trained a day in my life. And I was like, okay, running's pretty easy. So, so I was like, "All right, what do fitness tests? You gotta do your body weight a minimum or 10 times." And I was like, that's no problem. And they're like, "How many pull-ups can everyone do?" And I remember if I wrote 32, they called me the Greyhound. I had no body fat, and I was just like a ripped, skinny guy, I guess. And then I remember races, and that's when it got serious, because there's like the seniors that have been there for 4 years, and then these rookies are trying to take their positions on the lines. And turns out I was real fast. So undeceivingly fast. Doesn't look like I'm trying. I think
Evenly fast.
I am, man. Like,
All he wants to do is race, by the way. Whenever he's had a beer, like always wants to race somebody. Like
lightning
every
fast.
time. Like every time.
Well, I'm just waiting for someone to see if anyone's faster than me. I'm still waiting. So, anyways, college we were bad. We were like, I don't know how many college teams there are, maybe 60, but we must have been like 58th every year. But I made some all-star teams through that journey, and I was assistant captain and I was the captain, so a little leadership role was put in my way. And after college, I didn't really have any intentions on like pursuing a pro career. I was kind of just gonna go back to the farm and drive around circles in the tractor. But then this agent approached me and was like, "Can I take you out to lunch?" And he's like, "Hey, sure." I was like, "I like to eat." So then he was like, "I'd like to represent you." And it's like, "Okay, let me think about this." And then another agent came and same thing, let me represent you. And I don't know, I didn't know what was going on. So I was like, I'm just gonna choose A because he was the first one to come. But I guess I should have looked at what players they were representing, and I needed to do more research in the hockey world. Like I just never paid attention, even when I played in the leagues, like in college. Like I never knew if we were fifth place, third place, ninth place. Like I just was like, yeah, we got a game. I don't want to be late, but boy, are we gonna have a fun time after. So, yeah. So I signed in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, on the East Coast, because my agent said they're double affiliated with Lake Erie and Syracuse, so you got double the chance to get called up to the AHL. So I was like, okay, man, you're a professional, whatever you say. Well, I get to Johnstown. Or first, I tried out for Springfield Falcons in the AHL as like affiliated with the Edmonton Oilers, and it's a create. You guys probably know, but it's like a numbers game. There's a lot of one-way contracts, two-way contracts, and politics and all this stuff. So, anyways, I get sent down to Johnstown where I signed. Unpacked my gear into the stall, and the trainer comes up and he's like, "Hey, you just got called up to Syracuse." And I'm like, "Oh man, that was fast." So, all right. And I just finished driving from like Massachusetts to Pennsylvania. And now I just turned around and now I'm going back to New York. So I get to Syracuse, and I never even played a game. I just sat in a hotel for about 2 months, and they just paid me to sit in this hotel and practice. And I just practiced, and I hung out with the boys and went on the road trips and cheered the team along, and never got the opportunity to lace them up. And then they sent me back down to Johnstown after a couple months, and they were not doing good. They had all these players that were getting sent down. They were cutting guys. I mean, their roster had like 60 guys. It was insane. So I get there, and the coach brought me in. He's like, "Man, this is a bad time." He's like, "We got so many players." He's like, I'm telling you straight up, you're a rookie, your freshman year. You're probably better off to go find somewhere else to play. I was just like, okay, well, like that's what you think, then all right, thanks for nothing. And then I then I left and called my agent. I went back to Detroit, and that's where my girlfriend was at the time, now wife Alicia. And I was hanging out there, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to go play for Kalamazoo Wings?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, that's close. That'd be perfect. I'll get there today." So I went there, and the first week I was there, I played 3 games, scored 5 goals, won Rookie of the Week, and I was like, "Okay, I think I've established myself. I think I'll get a chance." Well, the coach calls me in, and I'm like, "All right, maybe I'll get some power play time." And he's like, "We're letting you go." I was like, "What? What's going on right now?" And he's like, he's like, "I see you as a top 2 line here, and our top 2 lines are set, and it's a waste to have you on the third or fourth line or sitting in the stands. So we're gonna let you go." I said, "Okay, sounds good, thanks." And like my rookie pro year is just wild. So started in Springfield, then Johnstown, then Syracuse, now Kalamazoo. So I get a phone call, and this coach was coming from Arizona in the Central Hockey League, and he was like, "Hey, we're from Rapid City, which is in South Dakota, which is like near Saskatchewan, and probably an 8-hour drive from where my farm is." And he's like, "I'd like to give you a chance. You want to come out? We'll be there in 2 days. We're just driving up after our road swing." I was like, "Yeah, man, that sounds good. I'll head out tomorrow." So I started driving down the country again, and my agent calls me and says, where are you headed?" I said, "I'm going to Rapid City." Come coach called me and said I should come there and try out. So he said, "Rapid City, it's freezing." He's like, "You don't want to go there. I'll get you something better." So I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going there." I just kept driving because if anything, I'm just going to keep going past Rapid City and go home. So he calls me and he's like, "How's Tulsa sound?" I said, "Texas." "Sure. What, like, yeah, sounds great." He's like, "No, it's in Oklahoma." I thought you went to school. I was like, "I don't know where anything is in this I'm from this country." I was like, "Sure, Oklahoma, even better. Let's go there." So headed south, went to Tulsa. Pretty good setup there. We lived on a golf course. The BOK Center holds like 18,000 fans. It was the real deal. Dressing room, it was all brand new, legit. It was awesome, but just couldn't perform, didn't produce. And the trade deadline came. Well, I remember the coach called me. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna play with Jeff Christensen. He played for the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're gonna team up with him." And let's see how you guys do. And he was the guy that set me up for a few goals, but it was ups and downs and no PP, no PK. And it didn't make it work. I just didn't produce. So they traded me to Texas. And so I went down to Corpus Christi, and that's where I met the one and only Klutz. And it was quick though. Like I was there for not even a month, and he ended up getting released. But that was the first time we had met. I ended up winning Rookie of the Year. After all that stuff, I won Rookie of the Year on that team, not the league, which was kind of a crazy thing, I thought. So obviously they wanted me back. So I signed back there one more year, but I had a tryout for like Chicago Blackhawks farm team, Rockford Ice Hogs. So I went into there and I played 2 exhibition games and scored 2 goals, goal in each game. And then they released me. It's just a numbers game, like I said before. And I go back down to Texas. Had a good year. And then Klutz called me. He's like, hey, what's your plans for next season? I was like, dude, I'm a one day at a time kind of guy. I have no idea. Like, I haven't thought that far ahead. And he's like, would you come over to the Elite League? And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, it's in England.
What is that?
It just shows I think our standing, doesn't it?
I didn't even know what the Central Hockey League was before I even ended up in it, or the Oh, there's a story. I'm gonna back it up a little here. When I was in college, my senior year, I got an opportunity to go and leave school. So I met with the professor, said, hey, I got this chance to go and play some pro hockey in Port Huron. That's a bad story, but I'm gonna tell it. And I went there, and some buddies came up to watch. I scored a goal in my second shift of my first game, I remember. And we went out after, shocker. And for some reason, we crossed the border because I don't know if the bars stayed open later over there. I don't know what the story was there. Anyways, I got in the car. My bad. We went across the border, and when we were coming back for practice, the guy driving shouldn't have been driving, and he rolled down the window at the border, and he said, pull over. And I gave him a sobriety test, and then they handcuffed him, and that was it for him. But anyways, after many hours, it was just before I got finally released, and I finally could go to practice. And I rolled in there in my suit from the game from the night before, and I was sitting by the captain of that team, and he was like, you got to go talk to the coach. So I went in there, and he's like, where you been? What happened? And I went and saw family over in Canada, and just some border problems. Because when I got to the border, they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, Saskatchewan. And they're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm going to school in Massachusetts. Well, why are you here? Well, I play hockey for Port Huron, but you're in Ontario. So he's like, let me get this straight. You're from Saskatchewan. You're attending college in Massachusetts, playing pro hockey in Michigan, but you're in Ontario. And I'm like, yep, that's. He was like, no, that don't work. He's like, where's your paperwork? I'm like, college. Anyways, I got out. They let me go. So I showed up, and I talked to the coach, and he said, don't be late for practice. And long story short, after practice, he's like, here's your flight home. So that was actually the first pro thing that I had going on there. Fast forward, I'm going to England. So show up there, no idea what to expect, just expecting to get released or traded or sent somewhere else, because that's just the vibe that was going for the last couple of years. Had an unbelievable season personally, and hit it off with a core group of guys there, just a bunch of beauties. And we could talk, I don't know if this is long enough, but had a good time, and got an opportunity to come back. And I was like, yeah, 100% I'll come back. And I was lucky enough to do my master's, and I ended up achieving that, the MBA. And then it was kind of like I had a bunch of countries messaging me, and I had fired my agent before I went to England, because I was like, I'll just deal with Klutz. I'll negotiate my own contracts, and I'll have to pay this guy 5% or whatever he was getting. And so where am I? So then I don't know if I'm the Muffin Man story comes out, and then I thought, well, I'm facing a 2-year ban. I thought it was over. If you read the article, obviously, I was wrongly accused. And then it was kind of like all these countries were messaging me, and I didn't know what to do. Like, do I go to Germany? Do I go to Austria? Do I go? Like, I didn't know. And then Klutz was like, well, we'd like you to come back here. And I remember we met and had a pint and talked it over, and we wrote on a napkin back and forth. That's how we put that contract in. I was like, all right, yes. Like, I just didn't think the grass was greener on the other side. And like, why change it if you're having fun? You know, I was just we were having a great time there, and so played 2 more years. So 4 years there. It was a big part of my career, and a lot of memories, a lot of special moments, and wouldn't give any of that away for the world for anything. Then after 4 years, I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna sit back and wait to see who puts it together, like a solid team together to try and win a championship. This would be my 5th year, and Coventry was putting like, the roster, but it was an all-star team on our roster. I thought I was lucky enough to play there and win a championship, and then I was like, okay, I think I've done everything I can do in the elite league. I better go and check out the rest of the world. So I went to Germany, short stint there. Coach was not a fan of anything I did. I don't know going on. Like he was
Not
like
a fan.
he was like, man, I remember I showed up. I was like, I'm gonna light this league up, and because we were gonna win the league, and then we are gonna go up to the Del Two. That was what he told me on the phone. And then I get there, and all the players were like, yeah, we're Del Two. We just got sent down, but now we're going back. We'll win and go back up. And I was excited for that. I'm like, okay. We lived in a cool little like farmhouse, and everything was good. The rink, the city, the guys. Well, I don't know what was going on. Let's be honest. They all spoke German. And it was only 2 imports. The other guy was a Czech guy that didn't speak English, and they coached in German. So I was a little lost, but line, just follow the group, you'd be all right. But he thought I was there to travel and not, put any effort towards hockey. And I was like, man, I'll be your best player. Just you gotta give me a chance. So they started out. I didn't play anything, and you only get 2 imports, and he was sitting his import in the stands. We lost 3 in a row, and I was like, he's got to play me. And then he's like, they lost. They didn't put me in. They never put me in. There was 5. They lost 5 in a row. I was like, he's gonna put me in. He's gonna put me in. And then he brings me in his office, and he said, I don't think you're in good enough shape. And I was like, oh, I'm in good shape. Don't worry about that. And then he's like, okay, meet me at the track tomorrow at 7 in the morning. I said, okay, what's the address? So I showed up, and it was just him and I. And he's like, go 10 meters, 10 times. And he's timing me to see if I'm declining in my times. And then he was like, jump over these, barriers and these sticks, and let's see. And then he told me, he's like, I didn't know white men can jump. And I was killing it. And then he was like, all right, we're going to do the Cooper run. And the best guy on the team had 6.5 laps or something. It's that 11 minutes around a track. And so I was like, okay, what's the course record? And I ran down. I was like the motion shape guy on the team. So he gave me a high five, and I was like, there it is. I've got him. Relationship's there. I'm going to play. Well, no, didn't play. They brought a new import in, and he's like, you'll never play here. I was like, all right, I'm just going to sit here and watch you guys lose. And then he was like negotiating a buyout. And finally I was like, yeah, this is a waste of everything. So sign this buyout, get some money. And coach from Sweden calls me. And he said, hey, do you want to come play in the Erstliga in Budapest? I was like, and I didn't even know where Budapest was, but I heard Ryan O'Mara tell me one time when I was in Coventry that he traveled there, and he's like, man, that city was fun. It was a good time. It's beautiful. If you ever get a chance, you should check it out. That's the only reason I was like, yeah, let's go check this city out. It was supposed to be fun. So we went there, and I did good. I got to play. I led our team in points and goals, and had a pretty good relationship with Greg, and he brought me back, and I didn't want to leave. I was having a blast in that city. It's so much fun. So I played 3 years there, and then he got fired, and then he called me. He's like, hey, do you want to come to this team in Romania, same league, Brasov? And I was like, yeah, let's go there. So packed up, and we went up there and played there a season, and we won the Romanian league championship because you play in 2 leagues. And anyways, we beat this team. It was full of Russians, and it was a good battle. So put another championship under the belt, and then he got fired again. And I don't know, he went to Sweden, and then I had a bunch of teams contact me in the league because I'd played there for 4 years. And I went to Giurgio, where I didn't know what to expect. It was a new team to the league, and they were like, yeah, we live in this little village. And I'm like, this will be a great time. Let's go check this out. So we went up there, and then they're called the Bears, and they literally have bears running around their city. There'll be like bear horns, and this thing will go off on your phone. Like, there's a bear in town. Don't feed him. Don't touch him. Like, stay inside. Kind of crazy.
Where is that?
It's in Romania, like 3 hours from Bucharest. And it's literally, there's nothing there. It's a little town. Like when COVID hit, like that town really didn't shut down. There's a couple grocery There's a couple bars, a rink, and that's
What?
that's it.
And legit bears are just like just running about.
Yeah, so then like there's a page, like a Facebook page or some kind of page that I don't follow, but Alicia would, and she would show me, and people would be like out their windows, like, and there'd be just this bear like ripping around, like going up on looking on a fence and like going through some park. I was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy stuff. So like we carried bear spray with us because we would go on these hikes because there's a lot of like hills and trails and paths, and we that's what we did. We take the kids and we just like, go hike a mountain and then come back down. But you never know if you're going to see a bear or there's wild dogs. And, I don't know. There's crazy stories these guys are telling me. I don't know if they're pulling my leg or not, but we survived and had a pretty good year. But this team really wanted to win, so they were willing to fire coaches, players, and all that. And they brought a pretty good team in the second year, or sorry, the first year ended, and then COVID hit, and I was like, man, I don't want to go. I don't even know what, like, nobody knew what was going on in the world. Like, you look in the newspaper, like, the Americans are fighting over toilet paper. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. So I'm not going back there. But since Alicia's American and I'm Canadian, I wasn't allowed to go to the States, and she wasn't allowed to come to Canada. You had to go to your home country. And then we would have had to split the kids, or let's be honest, she would have took them all. And I wouldn't have got none. So I was like,
Yeah.
let's how about I stay here in the summer, sign a new contract, and I'll work out with your team because they do these summer workouts, and we'll play next year. How's that sound? And so they're like, yeah, let's do it. So I ended up staying there through the summer, and like I said, we did a bunch of hiking and didn't really know COVID was a thing. We had bicycles, bike around, and the next year the season started, but then it was weird. It was like no fans in the stands like the season prior at the end, but they were still paying us and we were still playing games. But then they'd put like the season on hold, and we're like, oh, whatever, we'll practice. And then all of a sudden they'd fire the season up, and then you play a couple games, they'd put it on hold. And then when they put it on hold the one time, they like, okay, we're not going to pay you guys until like the season fires up. And I was like, well, that's not going to work for me. Like, I got a family, so I think that's a sign to retire. And that's when I shut it down, and we negotiated, or not negotiated. My wife and I talked about like, all right, are you becoming Canadian or am I becoming American? Like, I obviously lost this battle, and I applied for my green card, and now I got a green card to I'm a permanent resident in the States, but I'm still a Canadian citizen, and I don't play hockey anymore. I haven't touched the ice 3 years. Well, that's when I came back from Romania there that COVID year. I jumped on a team in Michigan, but it was not the right level. So the other team was getting mad and they're calling me some things that you shouldn't say. And I just was like, dude, I'm just trying to sweat out the beers. Like, I don't care if we win this C division in Michigan. Like, get out of my face. Like, I promise you, I won't shoot anymore. So they won the championship too that year. And then when it came down here, I did go to a tournament with the team, and we played a team from Colorado in Louisville, and they beat us in a shootout. So we almost won that, but it is what it is. But now I still spend a lot of time at the rink, but it's only to coach my two boys. Last year I coached them. I coached them in Michigan, and then I coached them here. But because Miles is born on December 29th, he's like 2 or 3 days off of January 1st, which would make him, so they're like 13 months apart. So I called USA Hockey and I'm like, hey, can you like let my kids play together? They're brothers. It's not because one's awesome and is playing up. I don't want to buy 2 hotel rooms and have my family split and gas this way. And I was like, it's just more convenient. And they were just like, no, sorry, I get it, but no, it's not changing. It hasn't changed in 15 years. We're not changing.
Nice.
So then I was like, all right. So Miles is turning 9 in December, but he plays in the 10 and unders currently. I coach that team, and Tristan is 7, plays on the 8 and unders, and I also coach that team. If they play at the same time, I go to the older kids. And then next year when Tristan's 8, he can play up with the 10-year-olds. Because that's another thing. I'm like, well, let my 7-year-old play with the 10-year-olds. And they were like, nah, it's weird. The USA Hockey says it's allowed if there's like 3 things you got to meet. Like, they're not going to get injured. They're not going to steal a spot on the team that should be playing there, and some other thing. He met all the requirements. But USA Hockey passed it to like mid-am hockey, which is in the middle of the States, I guess. And they were like, no, you can only play up one age level. So a 7-year-old can't play with the 9 and 10s, but an 8-year-old can play with the 9 and 10s. So this year we're dividing and conquering sometimes. We've been pretty lucky every weekend. we've been together except for one, but I think there's some coming up here where we're gonna have to go separate ways. Yeah, a lot of hockey. It's just it's their turn now, so it's different, but it's good. I don't mind it. I feel like I almost care more about them winning than when I played in like my want to win. It's crazy. I just want them to do good and win. And right now the 10-year-olds are having a rough go, and the 8-year-olds they're pretty good. So a little mix of both.
Wow.
I've not had to do much there. I'll be not going to lie. Normally, I have to lead the way through.
What a rundown. That's like 20 minutes done.
You're welcome.
But I know there's some quality stories already there. There really is. And I've got to say thank you very much, Jeremy, obviously, for letting me just sit in the back seat and enjoy that. I've got to say. But it's a few years, I think, on a whole podcast we need to focus on. And I want to bring back to 2010. And of course, that call from Klutz. Yeah. And I want to focus on the whole years for a little bit. What was your first impression? Obviously, you didn't know what the Elite League was, and sort of how difficult was it to sort of get that one by, well, yourself, first of all, moving to England, and then, of course, your partner as well, and a whole change, of course, across an ocean. That decision, sort of how did you decide to say yes, essentially?
Well, there's other stories I left out, I guess. When I was like 19, I got picked to play on, it was called Team North America. And so they take 10 Canadians and 10 Americans. And they call you, well, there's a big N and an A for Team North America. And so we went over to Finland and Helsinki, and we played against like Sweden, Finland, Russia, and all these countries. So I went overseas, is my point here, and played prior to coming to England. But like Klutz, I had met him that short stint in Texas, and just, hockey's a small world. It's not hard to find out the truth about someone else in the hockey business. So I knew he was a great guy. There's not a lot of negative things that have ever been said about him to this day. And it was him. He convinced me, like I didn't talk to anybody else. I went over there. I was excited. I was pumped up. He built it up pretty good. And when I got there, I was like, this is gonna be sweet. Like the rink I've played in the best rinks and the worst rinks is the way I feel. And I didn't care that it wasn't the whatever they call it, the other rinks there in Nottingham and Sheffield, but it was the most versatile venue. Like who doesn't want to play in that? So I liked the downtown area, the marina, the guys in the team really is what keeps a guy around, I think. So yeah, it wasn't a hard decision at all. Like when I told him on the phone, yeah, I'll come, like it was like, that's what I'm doing now. I'm coming. I'm a man of my word, and I'm going over, and we're gonna go with it and see what happens. And like I said earlier, met a bunch of beauties and had a great time. So just kept, why change, right? So I stuck it out.
No, so it was 4 great years. But as you mentioned, of course, it's a very small world, the hockey world. Even sort of whilst you were in the States, you were still already playing with some future teammates in Hull, weren't you? Obviously, you played with Ozzy and I think Martin Andre as well in Kalamazoo. Corpus Christi, you played with Curtis, as well as obviously meeting Sylvan there the year before. It is sort of Sylvan just sort of brought, between his and your connections together and seemingly into this team in Hull.
And Sladek was with us too, actually.
That was in Corpus, wasn't it? Yeah.
Down there punching people in the heads. He was tough. But yeah, it is a small world, man. Connections. It's how the world works, I think. Yeah, great guys, and then that's what keeps guys coming back. Like Maddie, who was it? It was like Silverthorne and Boosh and Dooley and me. Like I don't know. There was like, I feel like we had a core group there for 4 years straight. Like nobody like wanted to leave, and everybody stayed, and we had a blast. And then there was like that core group of fans too that just stuck with us, win or lose. And yeah, those are great times.
So Matt, I'll bring you in for I think the first time since the intro here. So when you see Jereme arrive, and already sort of from day one, he looks like a quality player in the Elite League. I know, of course, 2010, I think Jereme's first year was a bit of a difficult year for yourself, really. But when you see Jereme on the ice, what were your sort of first thoughts with what Sylvan had brought in?
when he got to the rink, I just remember everyone just thinking, who is this just absolute space cadet? Like the guy's just wandering around. He's got like the sandals on, like just it was unreal. And then he gets on the ice and like to be honest with you, like he'll admit this, like when he's just going on the ice, he's just like chilling. Like he's not there was no like and I remember when we first skated, it was like everyone's like trying to see how everyone else is. And I think they like a lot of them guys probably just flown in as well. And I just I just remember watching him and just thinking, holy fuck, who is this guy? Like he's just like and then a couple of times like then he shoots and everyone's like, oh, guy can shoot, I guess. So that's why. And then yeah, you just I don't know. I guess you just get a feeling of guys and like he's right. There was so many boys there that stuck around for so long. Like no one wanted to like this is the thing with Hull, everyone says it like it gets a bad rap, but everyone wants to stay when they come. So but we
Yeah,
just
I don't know why it gets a bad rep
nah,
because go to any other place, like they're all the same. Like
yeah.
everywhere you good area, bad area, there's good times, bad times. Like Hull, I think it's. I love Hull. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, for sure. It's unreal. Like that's I think look, at the end of the day we just had like I said we said it on the other podcast, but we had a great like locker room. Like we just everyone was like buddies, like we all went out all the time. It was like it was just carnage. Carnage. Like
Coburn and Smitty and
yeah.
Reeder. Oh, it was that hockey house or whatever you want to
Oh
call it.
my God. That house was just on another level.
That was the real test for the wife there because it was Ozzy, me,
Yeah.
Dooley, and McKinney, and
Yeah.
then
And then
her.
yeah. And then who lived in like that little room thing? That was
It
McKinney.
was like a closet. I remember going in there like, "Hey, get up! You got it. We're leaving." And he's like, "Okay, okay." And then he'd like sit up, and then I'd walk away to like go back. He's out cold again, and I'm like, "McKinney, you got to get up, man! Like, we can't be late. Like, everybody knows that we're probably went out last night." So yeah, and then I just remember Dooley and Bush and I were all in there like we're gonna drag you to the vehicle, and he was like sleepwalking basically, but he got
Yeah.
up. He was on time. He was like our I don't know. We were teaching him. I don't know if we were teaching him the good things, but we were
No.
the young one.
I'll set the scene for that because that was like so this house was like in Cottingham for everyone that's like listening. And it was one of them big old houses and literally it was
Ozzy's bedroom was a whole living room.
yeah, it was. I mean the house was just like one of them big old like houses and we had so many like house gatherings, let's say,
Yeah,
in that
Weekly,
place
weekly. I remember
weekly.
coming back off Princess Avenue. It's weird how I remember that name, but
Fusion.
oh yeah, I remember always sitting there with the lights come on and we'd see how many people would fall down those stairs. But I
Yeah.
remember coming 10-foot closet in like our entrance way, and we were having one. We were in one, and I remember I blew 42'd it. Do you remember that? And I tackled this closet, and the whole
Yeah,
thing
yeah. Oh,
crumbled.
smashed. Yeah.
I ended up like taking these boards and putting them in the backyard. They had this big, long, nice garden, right, as we call it, and it had a fountain in the middle, and it had like I'm gonna tell it, and had this fountain in the middle, like a nice, I don't know, like it had like lions spitting water at 4 different directions,
Yeah.
and this was another time. So like that blue 42 squashing in the cabinet's been done for a few months. Well, we come back after a road trip, and we went to the house, and we were in the backyard, and then you see Davies. He picks like these things are 10 feet long, and he's dressed like behind him. And then he goes, and we're like just laughing, like, what is he gonna? He's gonna get crushed by that thing. So he and he picks it up over his head, and he's got it way in there, and he just lets it fall down on this fountain, and the fountain just breaks. He crumbles the fountain. We're like, oh, not good. That's
Oh no.
fine. We've crossed the line again.
It was a tough one. That was a
That was
tough one.
How much trouble do you get in for that one?
oh, a little
Yeah.
bit of everyone pitching a little bit of money and we'll fix
Yeah,
this.
we got out with that one. It
Goodness me.
was yeah. That was look, that house was unreal. I remember we had hey, can you remember that the Halloween party was probably up there. We I remember who did it? I went with like someone as John McEnroe. I can't remember who I went with.
I think I was Pac-Man. I had a whole suit that glued
Yeah,
in the
he
dark
was. Yeah.
yellow pack.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. I just remember looking around in the club and just looking at this massive Pac-Man thing, just like bobbling around.
I don't know where we were, but I remember that DJ gave Pac-Man a shout out.
Yeah, he
And
did.
but we had some good Halloween parties. Remember I was the Kool-Aid man that one time? I couldn't even
Yeah, that was good.
ways. The doors weren't big enough. We had to go to bars that had the double door so I could get in because I was
Yeah.
a Kool-Aid man. Could have ran through the wall, I guess, but
Oh man, honestly. No, we had honestly that team. You know what as well? Like we there was obviously a couple of the early years like we were struggling out there, weren't we? Like we had some
we
tough.
were what we were. Like Klutz could only work with what he had, and I
Yeah.
think
But then towards the end of like your time there, like obviously we had like after the incident, obviously, you know, the little trip to you know, the dam. I mean,
oh
after that, we had some good we had a good team like that. The one like you remember that year, so we had Deuce, Lozon, Pash came in, Klutz was still the coach that year, obviously. We had Sylv still.
13,
Like that
14 this.
yeah, that team was a good team, that team.
Soupy was there too, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was. Super was still there, yeah. Maybe. Or maybe
I
that
remember,
was the year before.
I think, yeah, 12, 13, I think.
oh,
Yeah, that's when we beat Sheffield, I think, wasn't it?
I never had a. I
No,
played hockey.
I think, sorry, 13, 14, I think he was there for 5 games. It was,
Oh, that was
That
the incident. Oh
yeah.
no. Yeah.
I played in hockey a long time with a lot of different players, and I never had a player get a 54 game suspension.
No, that was
I saw that video a while back, like a couple years ago. Somebody sent that to me, and they're like,
I,
"Is that you?" I was standing there next to Rollick, I think, and Soupy. You know, the incident happens, but he's like gearing down, and then all of a sudden, like I feel like a hit in the back of the head. I thought somebody like gave me a jab or whatever, but I turn around and Soupy's throwing elbow pads. So mad. I also remember I was back checking in practice, and he made like a move with his stick, and I went to pick his stick up, and I missed, and I sliced him open in the face. And I was like, "Ooh, that's not the guy you want to be cutting open." I didn't
no,
know, never knew if he was gonna snap or if he was
no,
gonna
no.
cool, man. And I was like, is he gonna kill me or are we good? But I
Yeah,
was,
like he might kill you.
he
Remember
was
when
tough.
can you remember when he had that race with Harps? Can you remember
Oh,
that?
yeah.
That was a scary moment, not gonna lie.
Uh, that was a big buildup.
Someone might have died for that. Someone. And yeah, wouldn't have been good. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, some great times.
And I think
Awesome.
you can just tell from the stories and the way you reflect on it. And this is obviously the chemistry that the fans saw from the side of the rink. They could see this group of guys representing their city, having fun, playing hockey. And that's why the fans in and around the rink sort of latched on to this group, I think. I think it's why it's still so fondly remembered.
The jellyfish.
The jellyfish. Yeah, you can't kill a jellyfish.
You can't kill it.
That when Scooby was announcing that one game, I remember not that one because I went up to him and I said, "Hey man, I think we gotta kill the Muffin Man thing," because he would be like, "Goal scored by number 27, the Muffin Man." Oh my god!
That's
There's
awesome.
so many funny things with that. Like I remember that kid was holding a sign in Nottingham saying, "Tendler muffins are half off in the lobby," and like, oh, there's a whole list of stories with that Muffin Man thing. But I am the Muffin Man.
Yeah, you are.
It will have certainly led to a few chirps from other rinks, won't it? I think it's a difficult one to get away from, but you can look back on it with a wry smile, maybe.
Oh, no harm done. I was wrongly accused, man. Read the article.
Wrongly accused. I tell you
Yeah.
what, Alicia Tendler right now she's the real winner in all this because
She can get a shout out, I guess.
that was some of the best in what do you want to even call that? Investigative in journalism or whatever. It could be something like that, but that whatever it was worked.
She researched that article. She found that article that Australian doctor had published that had said, like, no matter how big, tall, strong, old, young, whatever, it is possible. And when the UK doping committee came back and were like, your story's checking out, which was amazing. But the scientist that tested the urine sample, it says like impossible. So you got to come to London. And I remember putting on my suit and getting on a train and going to London to convince this scientist that I was telling the truth. And he looked me right dead in the eye and says, and the UK doped 4 people from there and scientists across the table. He's like, this guy's a habitual smoker, if you want my honest opinion. And I presented that piece of paper that Alicia had found saying that it is possible. This is, and he didn't want to say yeah, but then the UK, possible? Is it possible? And then he was like, it's highly unlikely, but clearly it is possible. This research has been done. They're like, that's all we need. And they're like, thank you, Mr. Tendler. We'll be in touch. And that's when the ban was reduced from 2 years to 8 weeks. And
boom,
laced them up again, and everyone had a lot of questions.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I think if we'd have been doing this podcast back then, Matt, you might it'd have maybe been a little bit of a feature, perhaps. But
yeah.
One thing we haven't actually mentioned, of course, talking of Hull, is the return last year and the jersey retirement. And of course, I remember speaking with you, Matty, sort of very early on last year, about how obviously it was one of the first things you wanted to do, leading the club was to retire Jereme's jersey. How was it for you, Jereme, of having that return, seeing old faces, and the honor of having the 27 up on the rafters?
Definitely special. Probably the most special thing that happened to me in my career. Didn't know what was going to happen until Maddie mentioned it, and I was in Memphis, Tennessee when he called me, and I was in like kind of a big meeting that I probably shouldn't have stepped out on, but it was a good meeting to step out on. It was a good conversation. It was definitely, like you said, I feel very honored and just fortunate, and that'll stick with me forever. That jersey's hanging up over there actually, and yeah, it's pretty special to me. But I couldn't have done anything obviously without the teammates. But I just want to say, like, some of so Maddie and I played a lot together. He realized that he's like, I'm gonna pass. This guy's gonna shoot, so I'm just gonna dish him. And I realized, okay, he's never shooting, so I just always got to expect to pass. Shouldn't pass. And I'll tell you the story. We were in Cardiff. I don't even know what the score was, but he's on a full breakaway. No one's catching him. He could have fell down, done a spinorama, got back up, like twirled his stick and still had time. He's making like these little quick Matty moves, and I'm like, God, I got to catch up because he's probably going to pass this. And I wheel all the way up there, and he's like deking this goalie, and he has the whole net open. All he's got to do is put it in. And then this guy's back checking him, and I'm behind that back checker. And then he like fakes the shot to the open net and then stops it and does like a backhand, no look. That's where he should be. And I come in there and I think I had to shoot over the goalie because down and out open net, and then he passed it back. But anyways, we scored a goal, and that was one of the many connections we had made over our time together. But some of the passes, like I remember Klutz is even getting mad. He's like, Maddie, when you're like, when you have an open net, or if you have a good shooting opportunity, like, can you shoot the puck ever? But Davies is just like, nah, I'm passing it.
Probably gonna pass.
Yeah, probably means 100%.
I'll probably pass it like this time.
We had this chat last week, Matty, didn't we? Pass first.
Yeah, mate. I just like I say, I don't think you just are what you are. I think you just get like, whatever, I don't know, the way you see the game or whatever gifts. I said before, like I always knew that, like, why would I shoot if someone's got a better shot than me? So I'm not gonna shoot if I can pass to him. Like, why would I do that? But
hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but is your jersey up in the rafters as well?
It is now.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Is it right beside mine?
It is.
Right next to it, mate.
That's a beautiful sight.
Beautiful sight. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
that-
you made me do it. I want, you was pushing that one as well. I know what he was doing when he was here.
well, how could it not go up there, man? Look at your history, the time you've spent there. You deserved it.
No, I appreciate it.
Yep.
No, but we, like I say, we just had a good understanding on the ice, and I mean, there was a lot of guys like that. Like, Silves played well with Tens as well. Like they had a great connection. You know,
Player, I think he's just a solid all around player that whoever you put with him, he connects because he's just a solid player all the way
he
around,
is,
right?
yeah,
Like,
solid player.
is he still grinding it out?
He's injured at the minute, but I don't know if he's coming back. He's said to me that he's not sure right now, so we'll see. But I mean, he's done a lot, hasn't he? So
He's played a long time.
long time,
Impressive.
long time. Yeah. But no, man, I think we just wanted to get you on and have a chat because we knew it would be a blockbuster episode. Speaking to the Tens,
What
give the
better
people what they
episode?
want.
27th episode. What a number.
There you go.
It was well, so we were always planning to get you on, and then we had the little brainwave, didn't we, Matty, a few weeks ago. 27's coming up. It's the time to make it happen.
Yeah, it's the 27th episode. There's no one else. I want you. And I was just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Then
What even is this? What podcast?
it's like, we're doing these podcasts. You want it, you got it. Just let me know what day and time.
Literally.
Figure out that time.
Never listened to it, never done a podcast, but he's here.
Just asking, you shall receive.
Love it. No, we appreciate it, mate.
I've got a feeling there's going to be a few more British hockey podcasts knocking on the door. I think sometime soon they'll want more of these stories, but you've heard it here on the one and only Behind the Curtain. We have had a few of the fans, and I know obviously you had such a special relationship with fans over here in the UK. A few of the fans have sent in a couple of questions. Just one of them is sort of wanting to know, how did Hull compare to sort of everything you had in the States, both hockey and non-hockey, sort of in terms of how you found sort of adjusting to the game and the city itself?
Okay. Well, that's a tough question. Like, because it's you can just use the example in the elite league. Like, you got a place like Belfast, Nottingham, Sheffield. They have these nice arenas. I think they're nice cities. And then you have places like Dundee and, well, Edinburgh's a nice city. I don't know. So that's a tough question. So what I'm going to say is there's not enough like, if you're in America, there's so much competition. Your roster could have 60 players on it in one season, and there's just people getting released, people getting traded. Everyone's battling. Like, you got 27 guys in your roster and 21 are lacing them up. So like, you're fighting to get into the lineup, and these guys are fighting to stay in the lineup. So there's so much internal competition is what I found in the States. And then when I got over there, they're kind of like, well, we just paid for like visas and all this stuff for these players to come over. We're going to give them an honest opportunity before we make a move we shouldn't. So the internal competition was as intense for sure. Level of play, it's tough because like America's got all these like NHL, AHL, East Coast, and then there's just so much. But I thought the Elite League was elite. I thought it was good. There was a lot of good players. Of course, there's some players that were weaker that were still developing. But I think that the Elite League is a tough league, or I don't know if it is now, but when I was there, I felt like there was always a couple beautiful meatheads on every team, like that would hold everybody accountable. Opposed to when I went to like the Eurostaliga League, for example, like there might have been a tough guy somewhere along the line in there, but like, why is that guy there? Like, no one's gonna fight him. Like, what's the point? So in my era, I thought the Elite League was tough. There was some tough guys. Remember that Penner? What that guy's Penner? He beat up every tough newspaper. He's like, I beat everyone up. That's tough.
There was so many tough guys. Like, it was crazy back then.
That McAway, Like I think I scored 3 or 4 goals one game. There's a video and he like chases me and I'm like, whoa, that guy's a monster. Like
Literally.
actually in Coventry, there that one year there was that Clarkson. He was big, and what happened was Sescon was our tough guy and he beat up their goal scorer. So then this Clarkson was coming after me and I was like, he's like, we're going, and I'm like, going where? Like I'm not going. Like no. And then he's like,
we're not going.
he's like, I'm jumping you. Oh, I'm turtling. And then he's like, let's fight, let's go. And I'm like, dude, I came over here to look at castles and drink their beer. Like I'm not here to fight. Like you're gonna beat me up. I don't want to get beat up. Like I'm cool. Like I'm just can I... And then he chased me around. Like the play was going on in the zone, and he was like, we were sword fighting at center ice. And then Eggy, one of our tough guys, came out and they went toe to toe. And I was like, God, thanks, man. Like I really owe you a bunch because I would have got killed if that was me. But yeah, there was a lot of tough guys. Zuderman, remember, like he was tough.
Yeah.
Attic was tough. Well, we could name a million tough. But back to the original question. I think it's elevated every year. Like even from our time, in 2010, it just kept getting better and better. The caliber of guys and players, and just even coaches and goalies, like the whole bit. It keeps getting better and better. And like Great Britain, are they not in the A division when it comes to international hockey? So that's itself right there. It's not going either.
I think they actually open up the
I gotta message that person and say ease up.
Yeah.
So a question from Adrian, that one. So I think you've put Jeremy on his toes there. Yeah, in talking of the international hockey, I think it is Great Britain versus Canada is the first game of their group in Div A next year in Prague. That one.
Is it?
I think, yeah. I think they've got a tough opening weekend. I think they play Canada and Finland back-to-back days. It's going to be a rough one for the GB boys, I think.
Well, I'll say this. The Oilers are not going to make playoffs, so that means that Great Britain are playing McDavid. So good luck to that one.
Oh, my. Can you imagine? But I don't think there's any easy games in that tournament, that's for sure. But, yeah, McDavid's next level. Like, unbelievable. Like, sometimes I just of the Oilers just to watch how stupid good he is.
Yeah, him and Draisaitl together are just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's so good too. Well, there's a lot of good pairings, but yeah, they're next right another level. There's like the NHL's like this, but there's like that caliber of guys that are just above and beyond everyone else, which is I don't know how that's even possible, but it is.
Yeah, it is.
You can't argue that one. I was reading something. He's only on for about an 80-point season this year, as if it's disappointing by his standards, but
only a point game.
I know it's unheard of for Conor McDavid. Other question, we are going to throw this one from Ian, and I have amended it very slightly, but it's about, of course, seeing what Matty's done this year. I'm sure, obviously, I don't know how closely you've been following the Seahawks over the 18 months since they come into existence, but how happy to see a hockey club thriving in Hull, of course. You got to see a little bit of it as you were here last year, but I say the club's been going from strength to strength and sort of bringing some of that good feeling back to the rink.
That's awesome. That's what that rink needs. I'm proud of Matty. He's making it happen. And I do follow, like, I don't know if it's like a supporters page on Facebook or something. So I do see scores and I do read the comments sometimes. But all in all, like, how can you not be proud? That city's got to have a team every year. Like that should never die out of there. And Matty and Ian and I don't know the whole group of guys, but like they kept it going. And I think it should be the same as how the Elite League just keeps improving. And I think that the Hall, the city, the team is just going to keep on improving. And I think it's exciting for everyone there, and it's exciting for Matty, and it's good to keep that little guy busy.
I'm sure. Well, not as busy as you, mate, clearly.
I might be the busiest guy in the world.
I actually think you are.
I think that's how I might have to introduce you, that if you ever join us again on this podcast, I think that might just have to be.
That is one busy man.
yeah, the next I'd gladly join again, but like I'll flip the hockey chapter and we can go on to the next chapter. It's a wild one.
Yeah, I wanna get into that chapter. That sounds like that's more
Three,
exciting right now.
you got a couple little ones running around. I got 3 boys, man. It's go 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 go
Yeah,
go.
it's crazy. It is crazy. 3 boys. My boy is nuts. So I can only imagine what 3 of your boys are like.
My older one's pretty chill, like similar, laid back. I think he resembles me most. The
Yeah,
middle one, absolutely chaos. Like just a while. Like I love it, but I'm also like, whoa, do I need to be doing more to like slow this down? Like this is
yeah.
crazy. And then our little guy, like I can't judge him too much. He's just 2, so he's a wild child too, though. But he's funny and they all get along for the most part, which is important and definitely keeps Alicia and I on our toes. Go go go! It's all good though. We're enjoying it.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the important thing, isn't it?
sorry. What's that?
You that's the important thing. You're the busiest guy in the world, but if you're enjoying it, it
It,
makes it that bit easier.
it's a good busy, is what it is. But yeah, that's another chapter where we can get the next the next chapter of my life another time.
And of course, for all you Seahawks fans, if you do want part 2 with Jereme, just let us know. Of course, make sure when you like, comment, share, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain podcast. Let us know how much you enjoyed this one and how quickly you want round 2 with Jereme. We've got to say thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Me and Matt have been able to sit in the back seat for this one a little bit and just listen to the stories. It's been great.
I'm just chilling, listening. This has been great. I've not had to speak at all. All I do is speak about stuff. So this is great.
Remember when Dooley threw that pizza at you, subverted?
Oh, unbelievable.
Full
That's
full zaw. Like
the
he was,
full,
he would go out and just that tie would be right up there.
right up there. And he had like a nice suit on, like
That was funny.
duels.
Man,
That's the next one. I'm working on duels, but
oh,
that's like a 4 hour podcast. That's like a Joe Rogan situation.
could be.
There's a
Um,
lot going on with old duels.
I got to go back and look at all these podcasts. I'm interested and intrigued. I don't know. I hope I stayed on the right path there, but I'm gonna go back and listen to some other ones because now I'm hooked.
Yeah, it was absolutely perfect to say.
That was good.
Those that are listening every single week, I'm sure they'll be absolutely loving this one. It's been a special trip down memory lane for a lot of them for the Stingrays days, but to sort of get more into depth about your life, your careers, someone who's so beloved in Hull, they're going to absolutely love this. We've got to say thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on episode 27, the best
What a
number, as Jereme says. What a number. It has been. What a number. What an episode with Jereme Tendler. I say like, follow, share, and subscribe. And stay hooked. Episode 28. I'll be with you later on in the week.